Testing, 1, 2, 3. Good morning, everybody. Who out of the morning startup organisers is going to do some MC duty in today? Dave? Do you want to do some MC duties today?
Well, I haven't done it. I'm kind of retiring as the chief.
I might let Erin do the chair force announcement, but yeah.
I'll heckle from the front.
Sick. Good morning, everyone. There's many people still out there getting coffees and stuff. Please, there's plenty of seats down the front too. Good morning. I am Scott.
Good morning.
This
I'm
is
Dave.
G'day, Dave. It's been a while.
Rarely here these days. Too busy building stuff.
Building bloody businesses. Yes, indeed. Who's building a business? Who's doing a startup? Yeah, all right. That's good, because that's why we exist. We want to get as many people in the same room as often as possible, learning interesting stuff and meeting each other and connecting, and hopefully good things happen by doing that for 14 years.
Yes,
So,
I've been doing it since, been coming it for the 14 years, but been organising it since 2013, I realised, with Erin. So now that I'm not here that regularly, I was going to say, do I get like a gold watch or a platinum forever sort of pass?
no.
Oh,
Never mind. Yes, so Morning Startup is organised by a few people besides me and Dave. Lovely Erin here, who's to thank for all of the awesome signs and all of this stuff that you see going on. And Nina, is Nina here? No. Oh, that's right. She couldn't be here. So, that's us.
we meet here every 2 weeks, rain, hail or shine, except over Christmas. And like I say, the whole purpose is just to bring you into this room so that we have great presenters every 2 weeks so you can learn. And also, I would recommend going and looking at the videos, which is courtesy of Perth Video, but we'll mention them shortly. Indeed. So we have a little section here, which is where people start to network and they start to go, oh, I've got a problem. And someone goes, oh, I could solve that. So is anybody here brave enough to stand up, introduce themselves, tell them how they found us, why you're here, and if you've got a shameless plug, or maybe you're working on a project and you need some help.
Political
Keep
rant,
it short, and I
want.
will go tea out if you start going into War and Peace.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Mark Chang. I'm from Xperia Growth. Xperia is a 12-month-old startup that was created to help startups like yourself. And interesting enough, it wasn't until about 4 months ago that I actually found Morning Startup, which is bizarre because it is the best place to come if you're trying to get information or to meet people about how to start your startup. But today I have a shameless plug, because if you're like me and my fellow co-founders, you're about to enter one of the hardest startup landscapes in the country. WA has this specific thing called a canyon of death. Our economy is based on tier 1 and tier 2 companies that have very high commercial requirements. There are very few, almost no investors who are prepared to give you day zero funding at the beginning. And those people are out there, but you need superb networks to be able to find them. Fortunately, we've just created Launch Focus to help you get over all three of those. It's WA's dedicated day zero accelerator.
Launchfocus.com.au?
Actually, experiagrowth.com.au/launch focus.
Okay.
Right, there are some new faces here, but they're new to me because I'm never here these days. And who else wants to stand up and introduce themselves?
Shameless plug.
Shameless plug.
Oh, hi everyone. My name's Neil. We are looking to speak to anybody in the room who might use BigQuery. We're doing some work building agents that write data analytics on top of BigQuery. So if you use BigQuery in a stack, I'd love to talk to you afterwards. That's it. Thanks.
Yeah.
Any Google BigQuery folks in the room?
Anybody else who's brave enough? Cool. There we go, sir.
My name is Ned Skeppers. I have a business called Sime Data, client management information data for clients. I've been in the financial service industry for over 35 years. I've developed a software that centralised data for all clients for mortgages, insurance, financial planning and all that sort of stuff. And I got invited here through AWS, a client that we do business with, and suggested I come here and have a good talk to some people and accelerate my business model. Thank you.
Awesome. Welcome. Thanks for coming. Woo! Yeah, round of applause. All these shameless
Probably
folks need a
time
round
for
of applause.
one more, a couple more. There we go.
Hi, how you going everyone? My name's Richard Clough. I just started up Clough Safety. For anybody who's just starting, needing navigation of the work health and safety rules and regulations, you can contact me and we can sort it out. So have a good day, guys.
Fantastic. Club safety. All right, anyone else? Any other shameless plugs? Funding announcements, anything like that?
Hi, I'm Cheryl Frame. I wear two different hats. So I'm here to represent Liquim, which is a biotech startup. We do all natural products, and what we've just launched into the market is something called Revo Glove, a fully biodegradable glove that takes the place of plastic and nitrile gloves, which just contaminate the landscape and don't biodegrade. The other hat that I wear is VentureX HQ, which is an organisation that helps female-led businesses get investment ready and go out and raise capital. Thanks.
Fantastic.
Hi everyone, my name is Chid. My business is called Fieldwork Labs and we're building the operating system for ecology in Australia. So software tools for ecologists and environmental scientists. I'd love to talk to anyone who's working in biodiversity conservation or ecology fields.
Hi everyone, I'm Danny from Chicken Orbs. We create innovative solutions to backyard problems. This year we are launching the first stackable garden stake that's made out of 100% recycled plastic made here in Perth, and also the recycled material also comes from your waste. So what I'm looking for is to connect with people who are retailers or potential customers for those particular products. We'll be launching additional products later on in the year as well. Thank you.
Fantastic.
I would just recommend you catch up with Mark. He doesn't show his face around here too often now, but Mark, if you're watching he got his product into Bunnings. Remember, it was the edible food plants.
Oh, right, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he's on the community somewhere, but I'll try and remember his surname, connect you, because he might help you get it into Bunnings.
Fantastic. Okay, so we've got a few shameless plugs and announcements of our own.
Did we not pay our bill?
Why?
Because we can get in
No,
there.
we've paid the bill.
We've paid it, right,
It's
okay.
on some system that doesn't
Debt collectors at the
recognise I
door.
paid it. So, pizzas. So Founder Sundowner happens on the first Wednesday of every month, and it's at Nowhere Man Brewing. Actually, that needs to be renamed to the Other Side of Nowhere, old slide. But yeah, come along if you're not a morning person. It's good. Yeah, I can contest to that. Sweet. Oh, Erin, got an announcement.
I have a shameless plug. So unfortunately, Dave is moving on from regular MC and the very politically correct title of Chair Bitch. And so Dave's going to go into the Morning Startup Hall of Fame. We've just got to work out exactly what his honorary title is going to be other than Chair Bitch. So as the community is starting to grow, which is awesome, what I'm putting together is a very exotic, very exciting task force called Chair Force. So what we're looking for is ideally students who will be a self-organised team on Slack who will come into events either early, so about 7 o'clock in the morning, or stay late between 8:30 and 9, for the very exotic, very exciting task of lifting chairs and getting them in perfectly neat straight lines so Dave's beautiful energy can live on.
I will come in and mark as well.
Yeah, there'll be a whole handover process, there'll be procedure, there'll be jazz hands. And because it's me, of course, you stay more than 3 months, you lift a whole pile of chairs, there'll be swag. And out of the founders as well, I've also made the offer for students, if you hang around for 3 months, we'll hook you up with different coaching sessions as well. So for some of us, our charge out rates are pretty hefty, so it's a pretty good value if you're a student or nervous student, someone who just wants a bit of extra exposure, and it's a good way just to get street cred and show to people that you're trustworthy and reliable. So Chairforce, if you know someone, hit them up and I can walk them through how it works.
Just on that, like I say, the reason I'm called a chair bitch is I used to live in Mandurah years ago before I moved up, literally 10 minutes away, and I used to have to get up at 4:30, 4:45 every morning so I could get in here to put the chairs out at 6:30. So, but it is generally, I know it sounds like a real kind of like, so you said students, but it's a great opportunity if you want to get involved with the ecosystem. You've kind of got to show up and be present every single time to get yourself out there into the ecosystem and know what it is. And again, it's one opportunity that you will meet so many different shapes, people, and you'll get to network and you'll get to get your name out there as well. So I think that's why we were offered this, is because you get to be part of the ecosystem in quite a big way.
Yeah, awesome.
It's an
Looking forward
important
to being able to get in here and just have the chairs and everything all ready to go. That'd be great. Thanks, Erin, for putting this together. Let us know if you know anyone. Who likes watching live streams? Thank you. Good. So we have the amazing folks at perthvideo.com.au who are supplying the live stream for Morning Startup. Woo! Yes! And they do an amazing job. They do live streaming out in the middle of nowhere with no internet connection. I have no idea how they do it. So if you need live streaming for anything, please hit them up. They are the most helpful group of folks. You will never have any technical issues. They just sort everything. It's so good.
And every session has been recorded for like the last 2, 3, 4 years even, I think. How far back, Jürgen? It's long.
Some of them go back to like 2014.
Yeah. So, and there is a lot of IP, like the stuff that there's on there is, so if you're building a business, we've had some awesome people on there. I always go back to the one that Derek did about Purpose Ventures, which I always think is really good because it's about, if you're looking for money, like the first thing a VC will do is looking at you. Do you pick your cup up? Do you take it out? You know, what kind of a person are you, etc., before they even invest. So I think that's a really good one. But there's tons and tons of IP on that site that you can go and watch and just learn for free.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Perth Video. By the way, we're founders. We do this for fun. We just like connecting with everyone, but it does cost money to do all this stuff. So this is why we've got some amazing sponsors to help us pay for it. So Ammo Marketing, they help us with our meetup fees, pizzas at Founder Sundowner, all of that sort of stuff. And if you need some growth techniques, some marketing assistance, please hit them up. At least go and subscribe to their podcast. It's called Weird Growth. Oh, good on you, Dave. Yes, subscribe to Weird Growth, interviews with founders, which brings us to Beecham Group.
Ta-da! Thank you, Glenn. It's broken.
Their recruitment services are much, much better than their banners.
I'm actually, just because Glenn's given us a broken banner, we're going to let him do. Give me.
That's my second or third banner. Yeah, you guys are so right.
It's because you keep buying these expensive things. Buy the cheap one; they always last. Glenn, give us 2 minutes of absolute wisdom, please.
I'm going to blame Scotty on that one, but no, I won't. All right. Okay, so 2 quick things. I'll do a quick hack just around hiring. The most important thing you can ask of a prospective hire is around their motivations. And there's a little bit of a thing that says you need to understand where someone's going from and, most importantly, to. That means you need to understand why a person is going from where they're working at the moment, I don't know, BHP or Rio or whatever, to come to your organisation. And with that, you need to understand there needs to be at least 2 or 3 reasons. If they can only explain to you why they're going from somewhere and they can't explain to you why they would be coming to your organisation clearly and succinctly, stop, ask and really probe like a whatever, because you haven't really firmed up their motivations and you're going to put yourself at risk of having a mishire, not have an offer accepted, and you're not going to get someone who genuinely wants to come to your business for the course. They're just there for a job or they're just there for a job. That's it.
Good call. 3 reasons. Good tip. Oh, you're not going to hang around all session for that? All right.
Oh, you've properly broken it now.
That was like that when I got in.
Oh man, it's getting worse.
Let go.
All right. While they destroy Glenn's banner, Purpose Ventures, who's got a coffee?
So, yes, who's got a coffee?
Good. And you told them you were at Morning Startup and got it for free? Cool. Because Purpose Ventures paid for it.
And Purpose Ventures, because I had to go and give them the bill for it, and they did pay me. So thank you, Josh, and thank you, Derek, have confirmed for another year. So that's great.
Wow. Woo. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you, Purpose, even more. If you haven't heard of them, they're Perth's leading VC. If you are a venture capital fundable business, hit them up, and hopefully they can fund your business and get to that $1 billion valuation that you're looking for. All right. And Everest Engineering. I did see Tom. Hey, Tom. So they supply you with awesome developers if you need to create your app, your website, your anything. They've got an awesome team of developers all organised here in Australia, so they can help you launch your thing, so hit them up. Any other news? Okay, Tom's here if you need a chat. Thank you, Everest. Oh, they're supplying the food, which should be at the back, so help yourself during the networking.
And we couldn't do this. Like I said, Scott, Erin, Nina and myself have been doing this for like decades now, for free, every 2 weeks, rain, hail and shine, because we kind of want it's our way of giving back, but we couldn't do it without the great supporters that you've seen who've helped pay for like the meetup subscription costs, a few beers or pizzas at the gig. And also, more importantly, to Space Cube, they give us this space for free and we bring you beautiful people here every 2 weeks. So massive Space Cube, thanks to Space Cube. If you are looking for a desk, then check out Space Cube. They've got Riff, they've got Fern. And also, like myself, when I expanded, like I say, my business now, we've got a huge office over in sort of 700 square metres over in Parramatta. The reason we were able to make that hop and book our first sort of 15 staff over there was because we used the Parramatta, the Western Sydney Startup Hub, which is also run by Space Cube. So that was like our first hop over there. And then we moved into our own office once we grew to sort of 30, 40 staff in that particular area as well. So I couldn't have done it without Space Cube, so massive kudos to them and thank you for giving us the space.
Absolutely.
Is anyone subscribed to Startup News? I'm going to say it again and tell you when I exit, I will buy that business back and make sure it does publish stuff regularly.
It is publishing stuff. Definitely subscribe to Startup
News.
News.
I never get it now. For some reason, I don't get those emails.
Subscription preferences.
Yeah. And Startup WA, there is an event that's going on in a couple of weeks around founder mental health. I think it's very important to kind of recognise the journey. Huh?
There's a quiz online.
Is there a quiz? Yeah, actually, we should put that up.
Yeah,
and
so
send it out.
Startup WA, so the event that Dave's talking about is by invite, but what Startup WA are looking for is founders to complete a quiz about founder mental health in Western Australia. So we have popped it on the Slack channel previously, and shared it on our LinkedIn page, but we will do it again because we think the founder mental health is absolutely paramount.
Yeah, and I say that because thankfully nothing's happened, but we have, as we've been in it as long as Scott and the rest of us have, I know of 2 people, unfortunately, who have unfortunately taken their own lives because of the stresses of building their own startup and then seeing it fail. And And as a country, I don't think we're very good at accepting failure, or we see failure as a real failure, when we should see it as a learning or a learning from it. So I generally think this is a really good one. Go and do the online form.
It's your duty as a WA startup founder to help support the ecosystem and do these things. Yeah, cool, great. Speaking of the Slack group, if you want a link to that, join us, slack.morningstartup.com, or scan the QR code for the invite link. You can have chats in between morning startup events. Getting a few more people in there and asking questions and things, so it's good to see. So please come in and get involved, or contact us. We're Morning Startup on all the stuff, pretty easy to find. If you're interested in doing a talk one day, we'd love to hear from you. Cool. As we said, we do this every 2 weeks, and this is coming up in 2 weeks' time. We have the amazing Ben Sandu from Ida Sports, who's going to be talking about customer discovery and how that really helped them raise money and cut all of their production costs and things. And was there an acquisition in that as well, or?
He's bringing his deck that he used to raise, so because everyone loves saying. Sorry. Yeah, I'm always the person saying, please make sure that you speak into the microphone for the live stream. Don't practice what I do. So Ben, everyone loves a founder story. So Ben's coming to do a what's and all founder story. The best part is Ben's bridging theory. So he's not only a startup founder, but he's also part of Curtin's innovation programs as well. So really cool founder story overlaid with some theory as well. But the best part is he's bringing the deck that he used to raise $2.5 million. So a lot of people are really curious about what types of things would you put in front of an investor to raise that level of capital, and you'll be able to see it in the flesh.
Fantastic. I'm looking forward to this one. Cool. And that is formalities out of the way. I didn't get as many laughs on that one. Toilets down here, by the way. Just make your way and go up the stairs if you need them.
We will stop the presentation midway through if you do go to the bathroom, but just so that you don't miss it.
That's right. Okay, that's enough from us, because we're running out of time. Let's get into the reason everyone is here today is because you want to hear about the GreenTech Hub. It's a new organisation, started in April last year, or that's at least when Jason joined. So we're going to hear all about it. If you are in the green tech industry, we want to hear how these guys can help us all. So please make him welcome Jason McFarlane.
Let's get rid of that photo as quick as we can. Thanks, Diana. Fantastic. Thanks so much. Thanks for the opportunity to come today. I guess Matt, really big supporter of what Morning Startup's about, and these sort of opportunities to get a really diverse group together for a yarn. I think it's really so important that we have these sort of, I guess, just more informal opportunities to catch up as a community. Before I start, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we meet, the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. We take the role that organisations like GreenTech Hub can play in supporting First Nations prosperity and First Nations, entrepreneurship really seriously. And I guess if there's people in the room who work in that space, we'd love to have a chat. So GreenTech Hub has been around. It's a little nascent. We're still developing the program. We're about sort of 12 months into effectively operationalising the program, but we've really come out of I guess a recognition within the state government and some of the state government partners, including the Gorgon joint venture, that a lot needs to change, and that Western Australia has a lot to gain by being part of the future energy transition and being proactive in solving our own issues. But also we've got a lot to lose if we don't, I guess, respond and adapt and take advantage of the opportunities as they arrive. If we end up being a price taker to others who solve our problems for us, it's going to cost us a lot. Or we're going to suffer the impacts of environmental degradation and vulnerability and lack of resilience within our economy. So we've been established by the state government and hosted by Curtin University to help facilitate high impact technologies across the state. And these technologies can exist across a range of different contexts, from biodiversity to decarbonisation to the circular economy. But ultimately we exist to support accelerating high impact technologies wherever they come from by leveraging the amazing resources we have across the state. And that might be our industrial base, that might be our unique community contexts, it might be our amazing startup ecosystem, it might be some of the R&D that's coming out of the universities. It could be a range of different leverage points that help us to, I guess, realise impact and realise benefit. And we really look at this from the perspective of the 3 YWAs. What are the problems and needs and opportunities that are unique to us? So within our context, what are the opportunities that if we can solve them for us, we can scale it globally? And we can find leverage to essentially expand our businesses and solutions into other markets. The next question is, why would you innovate here? What can we actually provide that actually means this is the best place in the world to innovate and solve those problems? And then ultimately, we're an economic development program for the state. How can the communities of Western Australia, the economy of Western Australia, benefit from solving those issues? So really, we're in scope across the areas of biodiversity, the circular economy and decarbonisation, if we can answer those 3 questions. And we operate through really 3 operational mechanisms. We run a series of innovation challenges, so that's where we go to the market first, talk to customers and end users and people that have needs, and then push out those needs to the innovation community to seek people who can proactively solve for technologies. We have a capacity building program, which is still being developed at the moment, but that's to support startups and people and entrepreneurs at the early stages of their startup journey to help develop their programs, help develop their products or services, and then ultimately scale them, leveraging Western Australia. And then we have a broader role to support the ecosystem of community that works in and around this space, and start to really, I guess, explore as a collective where do we want to be at 2040, 2050, 2060, and how do we start to build the pieces of the puzzle that actually get us to where we want to be in the future. And again, we've got a series of focus areas. So an example, yep, thanks. An example of, I guess, a recent initiative, and as Scott said, we're really just starting this up. We've been operational really since April. We're running the first of our innovation challenges at the moment. It's called the Long Game Energy Storage Challenge. It focuses on long duration energy storage solutions, so energy storage solutions of 8+ hours that are needed to really decarbonise Western Australia's energy grids, our microgrids, our major industrial areas, and potentially to underpin future investment in a whole range of different, I guess, projects into the future. So we did a fair bit of work with the customers in scoping this challenge, and really what the customers came back to us is that there's a series of market failures that mean that they can't adopt these technologies and they can't find the right technologies in market, in our particular context. And that's because they just don't even come close to price parity with incumbent technologies, whether that's gas or diesel. The traditional ways we store energy in different parts of the state, at the moment with the project economics just doesn't make sense. The second is that they don't have confidence that a particular technology solves their problem. It works in their particular context, in their particular application. So we need to find ways to prove that I guess, match between technology and application. There's not the proof of scale. People have got great technologies that might work at 1 megawatt in terms of provision, or they might work over 8 hours, but they don't have the, I guess, proof at a 10, 20 megawatt solution over days, weeks, months that is needed. And ultimately, they don't have, the technologies don't necessarily have a business model behind it, which means that investors and ultimately end customers can actually buy the product as yet. So these became the kind of focus area of our challenge and the basis for what we pushed out to the market to invite solutions. And I guess the other piece of the puzzle is that the particular areas that local industry, local customers wanted us to focus on. So what were the problems that we're seeking to solve? And that included a focus on energy-intensive industries, which included major industrial areas and major I guess, export activities, but also digital infrastructure like data centres and intensive agricultural precincts. Remote and regional microgrids. We're so unique in this state in the diversity of microgrids that operate across the state, both servicing communities but also resource activities and regional communities, as well as our remote Aboriginal communities right across the state. Grid flexibility. What are the bigger pieces of infrastructure needed to underpin the South West Integrated System and other infrastructure that really do, I guess, underpin the taking on of more renewables and stability across the grids as they move away from traditional energy generation. And ultimately, the digital enablers. What are the solutions at a digital level that could unlock the business of the battery? What are the solutions that can actually make a battery generate revenue for a customer and also for I guess a developer, and that I guess allow for different ways of sharing risk, sharing reward, allowing for adaptive distribution and a whole range of other things. We pushed out this challenge globally, and it's really important within these challenges that we don't just sort of, I guess, think about things from a local level. It's really important that we understand if there's local technologies and local research that is applicable, but we also want best in class from around the globe, and we want to match those two pieces of the puzzle. So within this challenge, we pushed out globally. It was fantastic that 1 in 3 of the respondees was from WA, and some of the strongest respondees came locally. But we also had responses from Canada, Finland, France, Germany, the US, all over the globe. And I guess as a standard, they were rated very, very strong in the I guess the way that the industry judges essentially assessed. So these submissions were judged by a panel that wasn't GreenTech Hub. It was a representative, I guess, panel from across the industry that included resources and oil and gas or energy companies. It included microgrid operators and network operators. It included researchers and other technologists. And it included major engineering houses as well, who are incredibly important in this space. And essentially, from that, we ended up with 12 finalists who came. Some of you might have seen them at Westech Fest last year. They came across and joined us for a week of intensive programming to help them understand the Western Australian context and what the opportunities might look like, to spend some time with the judges, but also spend some time with each other. And it's a really, I guess, important that these 12 finalists actually, thanks, I keep stepping on. These 12 finalists actually are very complementary in their offer. It's not necessarily that the case that these are all competing against each other within the same market. They actually provide complementary solutions that if you did bundle 2 or 3 of these solutions together, you'd have a much more complete opportunity. And I think that's probably one of the critical things that's fallen out of this is thinking about the whole of solution and what is needed to deploy into market, particularly with hardware, where it's very, very hard to provide a whole of solution, and seek out collaborators. And what's come out of this program, even just with the finalists, and we haven't announced the winners yet, that's with the Minister to announce in hopefully the next week or 2. But even with the finalists, there's about 5 or 6 different relationships that are forming out between these technologies that are working together to develop, I guess, collaborations and different opportunities. But there's also 5 different commercial opportunities that have already come out of this where technologies are developing relationships just with the industry judges that looked at that technology. Even before we've got to the winners, there's already NDAs being signed and I guess projects being progressed. So it's important with these projects that essentially it's the process as much as the outcome that comes into this. And it's about being involved, seeking out and being proactive in the way they approached it. We had great feedback from some of these industry partners that they got more out of this in a week and developed their business more in a week than they had in years in terms of their business model and applying it within a market. And we also had feedback from judges that this is one of the most inspirational weeks they've been involved in, that they got to see really, really high potential technologies that really weren't on their radar. And these are people that work in this space day in, day out. And we're lucky enough to have one of our judges in the room, Ro Richardson, here as well. So thanks a lot for coming, Ro. Yeah, and so I guess these innovation challenges are going to be on a rolling program over the next 4 years at least. We're going to be running a challenge about every 6 months across a range of different topics and contexts. Some of them are going to be focused on larger infrastructure and hardware deployment. That might be applicable to some, but it's actually kind of hard to be a startup in that space. It normally comes out of R&D through universities and through other mechanisms. But we'll also be running some more consumer-facing challenges that look at opportunities within the Western Australian and Australian consumer market as well. So please keep an eye out for our innovation challenges as we move forward. So what I thought I'd do, rather than just sort of tell you about our services, and please come and have a chat to myself, to Diana, put your hand up, and Brenda at the back, my colleagues. Please come and have a chat if you want to sort of understand how we might work more closely with you. I thought I'd give you a few reflections over the last 12 months of where I see the opportunities for green tech to develop in Western Australia. I think the first thing that's just come to mind is just how positive this ecosystem is. I said at the beginning, this project formed out of an agreement between the state government and the Gorgon joint venture run by Chevron that essentially has funded this program over the first 4 years. Curtin University are hosting the hub, but even within the activities we're undertaking on a day-to-day basis, we've got an enormous amount of corporate support and support from different stakeholders across the sector. No one wants to see this fail. Everyone wants to get involved and see and find opportunities for success. So we've got a lot of early supporters. This is probably only it's unfair to a lot of people that aren't on this list. We've had a lot of engagement from other university partners, from national and global partners that also are really keen to be involved. There's also Western Australia's established ecosystem. We want to be an enabler and a supporter of people who are doing amazing stuff already in this space across the state. So you've obviously got SpaceCubed, and I was just reflecting actually to someone before. 10 years ago, I started my own business at SpaceCubed, just over there. I was lucky enough to exit that about 3 years ago, sold it to a global engineering firm, and now have the opportunity to do this. But yeah, SpaceCubed is an amazing supporter of the startup ecosystem. But also we've got Hub on Essex down in Fremantle and a range of other different programs that all support innovation, green tech startups in different ways across Western Australia. And we'll be seeking to work with those programs to help curate, I guess, services to meet the needs of individual startups as we develop. We've also got a great emerging, I guess, relationship with a whole bunch of national programs. Biggest of those is with Greenhouse. Greenhouse are actually going to host us to take the winners of the first Innovation Challenge across to Climate Action Week Sydney in a few weeks' time to get them in front of ARENA and the Climate Energy Finance Corporation and a whole bunch of other public and private sector green tech investors in Sydney. It's nice when they come out for their once a week a year when they come to Perth, but it's nice to actually take them across and introduce them in their market as well. Energy Labs, amazing, Climate Salad, and then a whole bunch of the university programs that exist across I guess, Australia, who are really keen to find ways to support the program locally. And then globally, there's actually a real interest in collaboration as well. We actually operate in a different context to a lot of people. We are a unique economy and a unique network of communities across the state, and we're working with people like Greentown Labs, who are based out of Boston and Houston, to consider ways that we might be able to introduce startups from our ecosystem into their network, but also startups from their ecosystem into our network, depending on where those startups want to find leverage. And there's a whole bunch of other international stakeholders who are keen to play. Again, this is probably a bit of an out-of-date list now. And then there's obviously a whole bunch of aligned capital, and I think for startups in the space, many of you will be around a lot of this, but I do think we're at a point now, you can hear the doom and gloom on the news, you can hear about the latest US policy shifts in this space, and some of the, I guess, local media who are pushing back about how green tech adoption is a failure and it's not achieving what it needs to. Behind all that, there's an enormous amount of aligned capital that's potential leverage for people who are working in this space to really accelerate their technologies. You've got great local grant programs and programmatic support, alongside a lot of different initiatives that the feds and others are operating at a federal level. Globally, there's some much bigger funds available for high impact technologies as they accelerate, and particularly if they can start to solve problems in emerging and developing markets. And then ultimately, you've got an enormous amount of corporate vehicles that are shifting into this space. There's the corporate venture capital and corporate granting market in this space is just growing every single day. It's quite remarkable how much investment's available out there for good high impact technologies. I think the second thing here that keeps coming up for us is there's a lot around the ideation and thinking about who's got good ideas or good technologies or good research in green tech. The big gap in green technology, I guess, adoption is deployment. It's finding ways to pilot those technologies in the real world, to test them, to break them, to iterate. And I think Western Australia has an enormous opportunity to be a global hub of technologies who are looking to scale and test their deployment capabilities in the real world. As someone said to me the other day, you guys break shit. And I think that's probably fair. Across our diverse communities, across our diverse industrial bases, across our massive coastline and I guess arid areas and rainforest and southern agricultural zones, we've got an enormous amount of different contexts to operate. I don't know why France is still there, for those who have picked that up. But also, I guess, we actually do have quite a supportive ecosystem that is used to having to solve our own problems. So we are quite open, even within our major corporates, to look at new solutions to solving our issues. So it's a pretty, compared to other markets, pretty supportive ecosystem for this type of stuff. That's applicable globally, but I think it's very, very applicable for those who are developing their technologies locally. That we need to leverage our capability to get technology out of a lab, out of a car park, out of an incubator and out in the real world. And there's, please come and talk to us if you're at that stage. There's opportunities in places like Collie, there's opportunities in intensive agricultural precincts around the state, there's opportunities in various resource projects to prove your technology at various scales. And I think that's one of the real opportunities here is if you've got a 1 megawatt solution to a battery technology, we actually have a customer for a 1 megawatt solution. You might be trying to get to 50, but you need to prove it at a smaller scale to get you there. We can potentially find you an early stage customer or at least a host at an early stage that can help you prove up your technology as it moves along that path. The other thing that's coming up for us is just the demand for a focus and support around innovation across a really diverse range of green tech focus areas. So obviously we've run our first innovation challenge which focuses on energy storage, but there's a whole bunch of other I guess initiatives that we're picking at and topics that we're picking at and testing its relevance within the Western Australian market. I think for all of these just about all of these ideas, there's an end customer somewhere in WA who's asking us to facilitate innovation challenges around these. Our next innovation challenge is going to be likely to be focusing on low carbon construction materials, or probably low impact construction materials, because I think if we just focus on carbon, we might miss the point a little. And that essentially is looking at the opportunity for alternative materials and alternative construction methods to be brought in to consider major projects like the Westports and the balance of plant that sits around wind farms and the AUKUS investment, our major housing initiatives and others, to think about alternative ways of doing that aren't going to be quite so extractive and can deal with some of the materials shortages that exist within Western Australia. Green data centres and digital infrastructure is obviously live across the globe at the moment. We don't have solutions about how to deploy those technologies in a sustainable manner. And we have a lot of contexts where we actually have a lot of the pieces of the puzzle, but we don't have an overarching solution about how we might deploy infrastructure around, particularly where there's not transmission infrastructure to support data centres to deploy in places like Geraldton or Kalgoorlie or Esperance or other, particularly regional contexts. But even in places like the Palsy Centre in Bentley, there's a transmission issue that is prohibiting scale of solutions in that context. So we have needs across metropolitan and regional Australia. And then a whole bunch of different topics. I guess if you're in industry, or even if you're in startup land and you're starting to see momentum around particular markets where you do think there might be opportunities for us to run a challenge, we'd love to hear from you. We've got a bit of a process we go through about how we identify and filter those ideas. But it would be great to hear from different perspectives as to where you see there might be an opportunity for us to facilitate innovation and adopt innovation. I guess the final thing to say of the many conversations is there's a real tension. WA is a pragmatic state. We try and solve our problems. And we're very tactical. We tend to focus on the now and what we need to do to get us to the next, through the next commodity cycle or deal with the next issue. And that's important. But we need to think about also where we're going in the long term and where the opportunities might sit. And particularly within GreenTech Hub, when in a lot of cases we're dealing with hardware, which takes a long, long time to commercialise and deploy. If you're solving the problem of the market of today, you're probably going to miss the boat in the 5, 10, 15 years' time by the time you actually get ready to be able to sell your product into market. So there's sort of a tension here around, and many people probably have seen the Horizon 1, 2, 3 model. It's come out of McKinsey and a bunch of different, I guess, groups who use it. I've bastardised it for my own use. But it's important, I guess, as a startup, yes, depending on where you're at and where you're anticipating market adoption, if you just get stuck in the tactical on the market of today, you may miss the boat. And I think that's also the case from an investor perspective, that it's very, very easy for investors and capital to focus on where there might be some early stage revenue generation. But the bigger bets and the long game is going to be, I guess, something that needs to be considered in your investment profile. And I do think the systems change that we're anticipating in 10, 15 years' time means that we're going to need to reimagine the whole system. And there's going to need to be a lot of adoption of new technologies and a lot of scaling of solutions right across the globe, which opens up opportunities, but also means that we need capital mobilised around longer-term visionary outcomes, not just the needs of today. And I guess an example of that is just where Australia's carbon emissions budget sits at the moment. So we're not performing great, to be perfectly frank. We're on that little plateau in the blue at the moment around our anticipated emissions against our Paris Agreement commitments. There's a bit of a generous orange curve there that anticipates that we're going to get moving and sort of disrupt the trend over time. But in reality, even following that trend line, we're really not going to get close to meeting our needs. We actually do need to anticipate that there's going to be some substantial shifts in the way we do things to get there.
If you hit a WA graph, it looks like worse than that.
That is very true. Thanks, Roy. And can't get the data for WA at the same granularity apparently. I'll talk to you about that after. Horizon 2, if we start to think about trend disruptions, adoption of technologies that we know are coming online, maybe some shifts in policy that are pretty anticipatable, we perform better, but we don't necessarily get there. And really, we're actually starting to see, we really do need to see an exponential shift in the way things, I guess, are happening for us to get even close to our ultimate 2050 commitments. That's an opportunity for me as an entrepreneur. There is going to be those systemic shifts coming. We absolutely, as a planet, need to adopt and adapt to change. But there's also mobilised capital markets all over the globe, investors all over the globe who are focusing on these sorts of outcomes and wanting to shift the dial. And so if you're playing in that space and really wanting to think about disruptive technologies, I think this is just such an incredible time to be an entrepreneur in this space. So just to finish up, a couple of opportunities. The first of those actually isn't on here, which is that we're having a sundowner tonight down at the Point. I know that we probably are ticketed out, but we'd love to have you all along. Please approach Brenda at the back if you've got the chance to join us this evening. It's really the start of just building an informal community who might want to get together occasionally just to talk about these sorts of issues and where there might be opportunities to collaborate. We're also sponsoring the Regional Innovation Summit. That's happening down at Caves House in a few weeks. It's an excuse to go to Caves House. But yeah, amazing program. And we've got some complimentary tickets available for startups in the green tech space. So if you are working in this space and are interested, please scan and submit the EOI. I do think actually through the same QR code, you can also get tickets for this evening. And then ultimately as well, we're also a sponsor and a supporter of the Black Swan Summit in a few weeks' time. That's happening. I think at UWA. And there's some complimentary tickets available again for startup entrepreneurs who might want to get involved in a Black Swan Summit. Black Swan Summit's a fantastic opportunity to meet with Southeast Asian investors. There's a lot of really good, motivated capital coming from Singapore, Malaysia and other markets into Perth for that week. And I'd really strongly advise people, if you've got the time, to take some time to get along. That's me.
Awesome. Thank you so much for taking us through all of that. Who is in the green tech space and you reckon you could utilise the GreenTech Hub? Cool. Cool. Any questions that you got for Jason? All right. There's a roaming mic. So Tom.
Thank you, sir. Jason, thanks for being part of Fighting the Good Fight, mate. It's good to hear that there's a pathway forward after all the grim news we're getting. Look, I was at West Tech Fest a couple of months ago and heard Bill Ty and a co sort of talking about West Australia and its potential to impact this space. And I was really interested to hear from you on the ground. Is it potential, or actually are the people in the global scene actually taking note of what West Australia is doing in this space?
It's a really good question. Bill is very bullish about particularly opportunities for deployment of digital infrastructure into regions and into remote settings. I don't think we're on everyone's shortlist. We need to kind of put a flag in the sand and really communicate what the opportunity looks like. I do think that there is different markets that we make a lot of sense to. So I've been talking to one of the Singaporean GreenTech accelerators in the last few weeks. Such an incredibly supportive ecosystem in Singapore, and they've actually got a problem that people come out too supported of the programs, and they need somewhere where they can really test and deploy in the real world and really test these ideas in different contexts. I think the other thing around that is, if you're in hardware and you need to scale and you're thinking about a global opportunities, you need to prove yourself in a number of different markets. Like to be able to actually manufacture at scale and compete and disrupt and sort of meet the price points that we need to meet to disrupt kind of incumbent technologies, particularly if we don't have a global carbon price. You need to develop and test your technologies across different contexts. And I think our context around remote operations, our context around remote logistics, harsh environments, particularly as we start investing in resilience and adaptation as well, which is the other kind of piece of this puzzle that we don't necessarily talk about so much, is there's a lot of change coming that is now unavoidable. How do we adapt in that change? How do we support supply chains to adapt in that change? I think we offer a lot in that space. So thank you.
Any other questions?
Hi, my name is Christina. I'm a marketing consultant. I just have got a question. How do you push out these challenges? How do you reach these companies?
It's actually, it was one of the bits of advice we got early, and so thank you, it's a great question. You've got to do a lot of work. So there's two ways to do that. Obviously we're starting to build that global network, so we're pushing out through partners locally and globally to communicate, the opportunity and crowdsource solutions. But there's also a big part of this that's around tech scanning and actually going out and identifying solutions that actually meet the needs and sort of tapping them on the shoulder, please, come on, come and join us. And that happens right from locally. We're doing that and using digital tools to do that constantly now around all these topics, is really get a sense of who's doing amazing work around the globe, where are the trends around tech adoption, what sort of new technologies or new battery chemistries are coming online, and where are the innovators sitting around those that we might be able to invite into these programs. It's actually a lot more resource intensive probably than we anticipated. It takes a lot of work to do that.
I bet. Any others? One down front.
Hi, Jason. Thanks for that. I have a question about your Horizon 3 and the question of how to demonstrate to interested parties that there are actually problems that need solving. So I used to work for Blue Ocean, which created an Australian drone to collect subsurface data over long periods of time. And the one thing that we discovered is we don't know, Western Australia doesn't know enough about what's going on underneath our ocean. Without that data across a variety of horizons, there was no impetus because we couldn't demonstrate the problem. Is that something that you're seeing?
Absolutely. And it is, what I would say is there's an observation, even within organisations, governments, companies, that probably on the surface and through their public persona are deeply embedded in the status quo. There's a lot of movement under the surface to start to think about what's next. And they wouldn't be undertaking their fiduciary duty to their board and to their shareholders if they weren't thinking about those sort of disruptive technologies. So I think that I'm seeing a lot of movement. Certainly Greentown Labs in the US, they were talking about, February last year, they had crisis meetings about Trump's coming in, we're going to have to shut the doors, basically. All of the Biden administration programs around green tech support were out the window. And what they've had the busiest 18 months that they've ever had. And it's corporate support from major oil and gas companies, major energy companies, different traders, different investment houses who have actually come in and covered the gap that used to be held by government, because they actually know that they need to continue to support tech adoption. They know what the trends look like. You've only got to look at the trend around cost per kilowatt hour of solar, for example, to know that the economics of that, you're not going back to coal. You're not going back to generation. When you combine that with the cost per kilowatt hour of storage that's coming out of lithium ion and some of these other technologies, those two technologies are going to blow the economics of coal out of the water down the tracks. So that argument's kind of done, except in the media and except at the political level, and people are investing in those solutions under the covers. So I do think that there's probably some positives there. Getting to those people who are working on the future. I think in most major corporations now you've got really proactive innovation teams and investment teams who are doing good work in that space, and likewise corporate VC initiatives who are thinking about investing in the disruptive technologies of the future. And I do think for hardware, in a lot of cases, it's the corporate VC market who is probably the easiest sell to, because they're thinking about solving their own problems and being able to be a kind of looking over the parapet to see what's coming next. I would really encourage you to get involved in those corporate VC kind of pitch nights and different initiatives that are being run through people like Greentown Labs and hopefully us into the future to give yourselves that sort of leverage at Horizon 3.
Awesome. We have time for one more question, which I think I saw a hand, so...
Lost my coffee. Nice question.
Hello, my name is Klaus, and I'm fresh off the boat from Europe. Hence, my question has got to do with Europe, because I saw the world map earlier in your presentation. There's a big white spot in mainland Europe, and I was wondering why.
It's early days, so we haven't probably done as much outreach into Europe as we need to. Certainly, I guess there's some really interesting programs, particularly, I guess the logical place for us to start as Perth is the other major energy economies. So we're starting to build relationships into Norway, who are also, I guess, dealing with parallel challenges and topics that Western Australia is dealing with. We got 3 submissions back for this innovation challenge from Finland. Not quite sure why we're big in Finland, but that's fantastic. And certainly I think from a startup perspective, there's a lot of people within Europe who are thinking about alternative operating contexts like Western Australia. But yeah, that's simply the case of just being early days and not having the opportunity to get involved in those programs.
Do you plan to reach out to the EU more often? In the short run. Let me just explain why I'm asking. So the EU has done that Green Deal a few years ago. It's just, I think they have agreed on it recently, really. And while we are trying to decoupling from old partners, we are coupling more with countries like Australia, even though there's a bit of a distance. Yep. There will be, I think, and I hope there will be a free trade agreement soon between EU and Australia. Would that be beneficial for reaching out to the EU and cooperate more with EU countries and organisations?
Absolutely, and I guess the Western Australian trade offices, the Australian trade offices are very, very supportive in kind of probably being our front door there. I would say just on that, I've now had conversations with all the WA trade offices across the globe, and they're very, very keen to promote emerging technologies and emerging startups as they evolve within the context they operate. And we've potentially got some startups being introduced into the Austin Invest and Trade Office in the US coming up. I think in terms of Europe, the interesting thing that Europe's starting to deal with is Scope 2 and Scope 3 emissions and starting to price them in to products. So there's now tariffing in place in Europe that's going to ramp up over the next 5 to 10 years, whereby if we don't price in the carbon emissions from our activities, they will. And so it's essentially saying that they're wanting everyone to compete on an even playing field. I do think over time Europe's going to lead the way in that. That's how we're going to get to more of a standardised global carbon price as people start to kind of, I guess, retaliate against Europe, and we start to kind of see those sorts of activities. So yeah, I do want to, I guess, work with Europe, and I do think Europe is a very keen early adopter of technologies. Certainly some of the tech we're working with on this innovation challenge, they've already got an office in Europe because it's a logical place for them to expand.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jason and the GreenTech Hub team, for coming down at 7:30 in the morning and sharing all of that with us. Please give them a good morning startup. Thank you. Right now. Are you going to hang around for half an hour? If you do have more questions, please come and have a chat. Aaron, is there anything else that we need to talk about before we wrap? No.
Oh.
Food. Thank you, Tom. There's still plenty. Yep, go help yourself. Don't be afraid of the flying furniture. We're going to be throwing things around and turning this back into a co-working space. Come along in 2 weeks' time to hear from Ben Sandu and Founder Sundowner next week at Noe Man Brewery. But thank you so much and enjoy. Cheers.